In Berlin, the young hacker Benjamin is sitting in an interrogation room after having walked into a hotel room full of bodies. He has information to offer about the cyber mafia, but he'll only agree to be interrogated by Hada, the head of the cyber division in Europe. Han accepts the job, and because Benjamin begins the story at the beginning, prompting him to go all the way back to his childhood as a child, Han accepts the job. German already wants to do great things, but he is invisible to everyone around him. His father ran away when he was born, as did his grandmother, and the only memory she has of her own father is the bullets that killed him during the war. His mother died when he was 8, so his grandmother has to raise him. Passion for computers and hacking, which he regards as a form of magic, he's incredibly good at what he does, and on the internet he feels like he belongs, unlike in real life, where he's an ignored loser. From there, Benjamin learns to manipulate pharmacy systems into setting and Ritalin, as well as the 3 rules every hacker should follow to know a system is safe. Aim for the impossible and have fun on both the internet and in real life. This isn't possible for Benjamin since he doesn't even have friends and only has Elaine's pizza delivery job because he never went to college. One evening he makes a delivery to a study group that includes Murray, the girl he's been crushing on since high school, but Murray doesn't recognize who she is. She comes to his defense when a mistake on the pizzas is found. Benjamin tries to thank her with a superhero quote, but she thinks he's weird, and Benjamin leaves with his tail between his legs before he gets outside, though he overhears Murray say she wishes she could have the exam answers, so he decides to break into the university and hack the central server in order to impress her and get her to marry him. His hacking technique is flawless, and he obtains the answers. However, he is apprehended by a security guard because he has no criminal record, and the only penalty is community service. While cleaning the streets, Benjamin meets Max, a very charismatic man who is impressed by his hacking story and invites him to a party later in the evening. Max takes Benjamin to a private office and introduces him to software master Stuff and hardware fried Paul, who asked Benjamin to prove his hacking skills. In a matter of seconds, Benjamin uses the office laptop to cut power in the whole neighborhood, earning the acceptance of the 3 men. This also gets the attention of the police, so Benjamin brings the power back before running away with his new friends because this isn't Max's house. They just sneaked into an open party on their way out, where they bump into Murray, who recognizes Benjamin as the delivery guy and gets dragged into some raw. When Max returns home, the door is open and his grandmother is gone. Fortunately, he finds them wandering the streets before she gets her, but this is a sign that all the timers have advanced to the point where she requires a nursing home. A few days later, Max finds Benjamin again and reminds him of the ex's rules, implying that Benjamin needs to start enjoying life. Max considers himself a social hacker because people are the most vulnerable part of any system, and it is just a matter of deceiving them to prove it. He picks a donut shop ticket and an empty box from a trash can and uses them to convince the clerk that her order came empty. Paul and Stuff and in a parking lot and a steal of and that they take to a hall where an important political conference is being held using fake ID is they made themselves. They sneak inside and Benjamin approaches the main laptop. By using Max's advice on social hacking, pretending to be part of the organization team once the computer has been hacked, they run back to hide in the van and change the conference presentation for a humorous video of Hitler. Many of the conference attendees notice the van outside and come after it, but the group gets to drive away without getting hurt, although the poor van does and ends up destroyed. Back in the present, Benjamin is starting to wonder why he should believe everything Benjamin says, so he impresses her by mentioning lots of details about her private life that he's acquired through hacking before continuing with his story after that successful prank. Benjamin's house as their base of operations since he's living alone now and their prank is going viral on the internet. Amal Paul doesn't like the attention, but Max loves it and wants to become as famous as M.R.X. Since Max likes to use a clown mask to post the videos online, Benjamin offers the name Play for the group, which stands for Clowns Laughing at You. From then on, Clay begins working on all kinds of hacking. wax which go from changing the graphics on the financial news or the lights on the building of a big pharma company always displaying rebellious messages. They don't take anything seriously and stay awake until late thanks to Ritalin, and all this hard work soon makes Clay famous both on the internet, in the news and real life. One afternoon while they're at the grocery store, the group bumps into Murray again, but Benjamin only manages to say hi to her. This frustrates Max, who quickly takes over the conversation and shows Benjamin how to talk to girls. Max's mood is unpredictable. He can go from charming to furious in seconds, especially when he gets frustrated every time Mr. X doesn't acknowledge their success. It's around this time that the German government collaborates with Hada, who comes over to work with aged Martin and his team. There's been a few important attacks on government systems lately that she thinks were made by FR-13, a dangerous Russian cyber mafia group that she's been chasing for 3 years. Meanwhile, the boys hack their way into a radio contest and win a push that they ride through the city as a symbol of their power. They also use it to pick up some girls that they take to Benjamin's home for a night of alcohol and dancing. However, Benjamin can't stop thinking of Murray and decides to look for her in the push. He finds her at a party and impresses her with the car, so after chatting a bit about her exams, Benjamin decides to be more like Max and kisses her. This isn't what Murray wanted, so he makes her leave, but when Benjamin tries to follow her, she runs. One of Murray's friends hits him and warns him to stay away from her. The next morning, the group is surprised to find a message from MRX making fun of them because Clay was mentioned as harmless and nothing to worry about in the documents she presented to her colleagues. This enrages Max, who was obsessed with impressing MRX and being accepted in the big leagues, so Benjamin suggests they renovate the main building. The German intelligence service. This is their most difficult target yet, but they begin by simply following the truck that picked up the BND trash and diving for anything useful once everything is in the dumpster. They end up finding a birthday card with a name on it, and with that name, they find the email address of a building maintenance worker through a process known as phishing. They send a fraudulent link, pretending it's cute pictures, and when the employee clicks on it, she grants them instant access to her computer. They can't access the main server from there, but they do get access to her files, and since she's the one that makes the building access cards, they place orders for them cards for themselves and manage to easily enter the BND building through the front door. Paul takes care of the main power and security alarms. Steven deletes the security camera recordings, and Benjamin is in charge of doing the actual hacking, although he stays a little longer to do something extra as soon as they're gonna prank kicks in and every printer in the building prints dozens of pages with a cheeky message from Play That Now. Night, the group goes to a club to celebrate their successful prank and comes across Murray again. Benjamin is finally feeling confident enough to make a better passer, but he gets a sour surprise when he finds her kissing Max. Furious and heartbroken, Benjamin returns home only for Max to show up at his window minutes later wanting to talk to. Angry and betrayed to talk, Benjamin tells Max to go away and insults him. So Max snaps back by reminding him is nothing without them before leaving. The idea of being nothing bothers Benjamin because he doesn't want to be a loser again. He reveals he stole classified data from the BND servers and gifts it to MRX to prove his skills. The next day, after 100 visits the BND building for clues about the latest prank, she receives awful news. The agent that have been infiltrating FR-13 and S has been killed. Between this death, the prank, and the stolen information on his position is hanging by a thread. Meanwhile, Max, Paul, and Steven show up at Benjamin's place and a fight begins. When Benjamin calls Max a manipulator, Paul makes them stop. When the latest news appears on TV revealing that the double agent was killed because the information that was stolen from the BND servers revealed his name to FR-13 NDS, which MRX works for, and now Clay is labeled as a terrorist group. The group freaks out and Steven wants to leave, or Max wants Benjamin to hand himself over to the police since it's all his fault, but Paul is against sacrificing anyone. Benjamin points out that they should deliver MRX and FR-13 NDS to the police instead, that way they can become invisible again. Their discussion is suddenly interrupted by the doorbell. It's Murray, who was worried about Ben again after having them so close, gets on a suspended the job MRX wants Clay to do is to send malware dressed as real information, also known as Trojan, to the Europol system, and they accept to do it because they have a plan. They're going to hide a second Trojan inside the first one to make it reveal MRX's identity when he accesses the system after the mission is completed. While destroying their hard drives to get rid of all evidence, Max apologizes to Benjamin for everything and admits he doesn't even know anything about computers. Afterward, Clay travels to The Hague to study Europol headquarters, but none of their usual tricks work. The trash is dumped in a secure building, nobody falls for their phishing attempts, and all entrances are locked, including the sewers, where Max gets his hand hurt by a nail. The group is ready to give up, but when they're about to leave, Benjamin notices a person leaving the building and dropping their access card, which he steals. It's pretty risky to pull. Social hacking is his responsibility. By pretending to be the owner of the access card, Benjamin convinces the guard given to Mina. It's inside to find a wallet he lost and manages to plant a box designed by Paul that grants you access to the BND network. The next morning, Benjamin meets with MRX and his private channel to pass him the hidden Trojan, but MRX already knew about this trick and activates the camera on Benjamin's computer, exposing his face to the entire dark net. Immediately, a group of Russian mobsters finds him and chases and through the city. Benjamin only manages to save himself by hiding in the subway tunnels. Sadly, his friends aren't as lucky, and when Benjamin returns to the hotel, he finds them all dead. After picking up the bullets, Benjamin calls the police and asks for honor, taking us back to the beginning. He wishes to be invisible again and not to fear for his life, so he's providing all this information in exchange for being accepted into the witness protests. Graham, while 100 calls or higher-ups try to get the deal, Benjamin reminisces about her last evening spent with Murray, during which she thanked him for hacking the exam answers and they kissed. Benjamin also asked her to run away with him. Martin comes over and tells 100 not to trust Benjamin because his story has lots of holes, but 100 makes him change his mind by convincing him that Benjamin is the only one who can bring down MRX and his friends. Who are the real criminals? Benjamin is given a computer to work his magic, logging into the dark net pretending to be MRX and confessing he's a snitch working with law enforcement. The real MRX gets so desperate to clear his name that he forces his way, and with unsafe methods, allowing Benjamin to expose him as a 19-year-old American guy from New York that immediately gets arrested by the FBI. Delighted by the 6. SS-100 informs Benjamin that good his new identity in a few hours, while noticing a wound on his hand that looks like a nail did it. Remembering Martin's observation about all the holes in Benjamin's story, 100 decides to investigate more, starting at Benjamin's house where she finds the empty box of Ritalin. Then she meets with Murray, who denies having seen Benjamin since he delivered pizzas and calls him crazy. Lastly, given witness protection. Overwhelmed by the fear of possibly getting killed by FR13 NDS on the news of being mentally ill, Benjamin has a breakdown. They makes on a pity him and give him one last chance. On their way to court, 100 gives Benjamin access to a government computer and explains the witness protection program as a literal program he can hack so he can set up his new identity. After promising he'll never had anything ever again, Benjamin is legally released, and after bleaching his hair he leaves the country on a scam lines where he meets with Murray, Max, Paul and stuff, and it turns out he isn't mentally ill and this whole deal has been part of a plan by Clay to socially hack on. After he escaped the Russian mobsters, Benjamin told his friends who was a danger to work with, but they refused to forsake him and decided they needed to trick on with the help of Murray's knowledge of the law. They learned people with mental disorders cannot be given witness protection and set up the whole story to have holes on purpose. They also gave Benjamin's hand a wound to match Max's and retrieved the bullets from his grandmother's box. A final touch, Benjamin didn't write his name under witness protection. He actually deleted all his information from the system. Really invisible. Meanwhile, during Martin's press conference announcing their success, Hunter realizes she's been tricked but still smiles to herself. She thinks Benjamin is right, the biggest fish have been caught, and now she can have her position again. Make sure to subscribe and turn a notification so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.